Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to our Friday webinar from the Special Events Institute on navigating uncharted waters, planning events in unfamiliar destinations. We have here today Jane White, CSCP. She's with the Visitors and Convention Bureau down in Virginia Beach. Welcome, everyone. So we have a nice PowerPoint that I'm going to share the screen on.
Welcome and happy Friday to everybody. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to do this. And so we're looking forward to getting some good questions in as well. My background is I am originally from New York. I was in the Navy for about 8 years active duty, and I was stationed overseas and worked in events there as a volunteer, sort of collateral duty. And when I got back to New York, I realized, oh, this would be kind of a fun thing. So I've been in the business about 20 years, worked at Columbia University doing smaller events. And then I went to work for an off-premise caterer in New York, and that really taught me a lot about the business from all aspects. And then I went to work for St. John's University, and I was the director of special events there, doing alumni events and fundraising events there. And then I got this opportunity to move to Virginia Beach to help open up the new convention center, which is now 10 years old, so it's not so new anymore. But my first day was spent with a hard hat on, walking on the site, you know, climbing up a ladder to the second floor because the staircases weren't done yet. And so I was there for about 10 years doing event coordination and management at the convention center, and we did a variety of lots of different events. And a year and a half ago, I was promoted to Director of Convention Services, same department, the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Virginia Beach is a city department, and we all work together. And so I do convention services, so I do everything that's sort of outside of the convention center, housing, transportation, and other services that we offer our convention and meeting clients that come to town. And that is who I am. So we're going to get started with the gobbledygook. As in any industry, everybody has acronyms and they're like, what the heck do these all mean? So, you know, you hear these terms bandied about like DMC, DMO, CVB, and, you know, what do they all mean? And ultimately, the defining difference between a DMC, which is a destination management company, which generally are private companies, and CVBs/DMOs are that CVBs and destination management organizations are a group or an organization that is focused on marketing the destination and servicing the clients in that destination, mainly with meetings and sort of tourism kind of focus, group tour focus. But it depends on the destination. So some are really tourist-based because they don't do a lot of meetings and conventions. Other destinations are big meeting and convention places. In my case, I work for the city of Virginia Beach. So our CVB is a city department, but in many destinations, it is a membership organization. So the various hotels and attractions and things like that, like in New York City, NYC & Co. is a membership organization. So each of those members pays a fee to be a member of that organization. And then those staff help promote those businesses and the destination as a whole, you know, in that way. Other destination management organizations are a hybrid. So they may be city employees, but they are managed sort of by an authority, which is sort of appointed or by the elected officials. It's, you know, it gets very complicated, but that's kind of in a nutshell how those all work. And how they work together or separately is really dependent on the destination itself. You have first-tier cities like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Washington, D.C., and places like that, where the CVB Destination Management Organization is going to assist to some degree, but they're going to farm out the work, like transportation or offsite events, to a destination management company. And in those destinations, there's usually lots of them, who will be, you know, sort of work with the client directly on all the logistics and the the CVB is kind of more of a big, broader base kind of support of, here's some resources on the website, here's a packet of information, or that kind of thing.
So can I just ask, if you were a planner coming into an area and contracting with the Convention and Visitors Bureau for a convention where you'd have hotels and overnight rooms, but then you wanted to do some off-site events, would you then go to a destination management company or a DMC to help you with these other off-site events?
Yes, I think again, it depends a little bit on the destination, but for example, in Virginia Beach, we have a convention coming in May that is going to be doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And what we do is we are handling their shuttle transportation to get them from their hotels to the convention center and back, and to one offsite event, which is really at the oceanfront. So it's near the hotel. So it's on the shuttle route. So we're going to do it anyway. But any of their offsite tours, we actually contacted a destination management company and put them in touch with the client and let them handle that specifically. And we frequently would do that. So we'll frequently sort of bounce it back and forth. In a place like New York, the CVB is, or the destination management, NYC & Co. is not going to do those logistics. They're going to say, here's a list of our providers, you know, contact one of them and they can help you with all these things, and they're not going to actually be boots on the ground. Whereas a CVB in a second tier, third tier market is actually going to probably be more boots on the ground and helping the client with a lot of logistics, and then just the bigger sort of offsite things they'll farm out, or spousal sort of or incentive kind of trips they'll farm out to a destination management company.
Okay, that's
how that works.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your what you offer at Virginia Beach?
Sure. So one of the things is when you're looking at an unfamiliar market, and I'm going to use our website as a way to navigate, but almost all of your destinations that you may want to take an event or a conference or a meeting to, the first place I would go to is their website. And a lot of them are under, you know, visit Charlotte, visit Virginia Beach, visit Norfolk, visit, you know, whatever, visit Chicago, I think is what Chicago's is. But that's like the new sort of movement, is to make those websites easy. And most of those websites for the CVBs or the destination management organization are going to have all of the options, you know, tourism, meetings and conventions, group tours, that kind of thing. Locals go on there to get lists of restaurants or see where hotels are, those kinds of things. So in the visitvirginiabeach.com website, when you click on that link, you actually get an option, you know, it like pops up and it tells you right away, it's like a little pop-up on the main page that says, you know, where do you want to go? And it says tourism, you know, meetings and conventions and so on. Or you can navigate it off to the side like Jill just did there. And if you were to click on the meeting planning part,
Let's see if I can get that.
it's on the left. If you go to the left, top left, because I don't know why the pop-up didn't come up. There's a pop-up, and then you would go down to meeting planners and click on the meeting planners section. Then there's usually a variety of, you can submit an RFP, there's lists of hotels, there's some unique venues that are listed there, and then services is on there. And services is a big part of what a lot of CVBs would do. And on that services tab has all of the various things. So we do shuttle transportation because our hotels are not co-located for the most part with the convention center in our destination. Other destinations, they may have 4 or 5 hotels near a convention center, but they'll still have off hotels, so you may still have to do shuttle transportation. We offer welcome desk support or concierge. We can offer housing services, so if they don't have a housing service already, we can offer registration assistance, spouse programs, excursions, and other city services. Because we are a city department, it's easier for us to navigate that whole permitting if they want to do a party on the beach, or if they want to do a walk or a run or whatever. We are plugged in. Those people are actually in the same building as us. We can work with them to help navigate that permit process because we know what we have to do. And you, as the outside person, may not even know how to navigate through that. If you wanted to do fireworks, well, how do I get a permit and what are the requirements? That's something that a convention services group within a CVB would offer. Many destination management companies in those first tier cities offer very similar services because they act in essence as a convention services type of an organization. So it may be that that's where you end up going, is using your destination management company instead of the CVB. It's just, that's where it gets a little sort of murky and tough. But I always recommend to people, go to the CVB first, let them figure out how they can help you, and then they can get you to the resources, because we are meant to be the subject matter experts on our destination.
Great. And I also know that you have some really, really interesting products that you've done, welcome buttons.
Right, exactly.
Things like that.
So one of the things we do to kind of sort of value added, and every destination does things a little differently based on their market and what kind of clients they have come in and so on. But for instance, we have 3 really large citywide conventions that are coming in April and May and June, actually. And one of the things we like to do is we like to make our delegates feel like rock stars. So we try to sort of almost saturate the areas that they're going to be in with some sort of messaging, welcome messaging, and so on. So we will give out buttons to our partners and our hotel partners at the convention center. All our staff, our volunteers, will wear these buttons that welcome with the client's logo. We use shuttle pavement markers where the shuttle stops are, that are branded, and also use their logos, this is an example of that, with some directional, because the stop may not be right outside their front door, or what have you. But those pavement markers help brand us as well in the mind of the attendees and the public, but we're also welcoming them and showing them. And we're also trying a new thing with window clings. We were trying to find a new, interesting, less expensive way than using banners, which seem kind of an old school way of doing things. So we're going to do window clings that are going to be the same sort of look as the shuttle stops and as the buttons and any other signage we do, so that it all is cohesive.
Is this the one on the right, Jane?
Well, the window clings are the circles. So it was on the previous slide. The ones that are the circles, they're going to be like an 8 inch by 8 inch circle that's going to be a ring, and will go right on the window of the hotel or at the convention center. We are hoping it'll work on the motor coaches, but we're not sure. We'll see. We're going to test it out. But we're also, the goal is eventually is to have it at attractions and restaurants as well. Eventually, is the goal. And this is our test. It's our little test to see how it works. But I think what's going to happen is those other attractions and restaurants are going to go, where do I get one of those? We want to welcome this group too, which is part of the whole buzz of trying to create an opportunity for the destination to really service the clients in a big picture way, which is, again, another thing that a CVB or a destination management organization really helps to do. Is A, they're the expert on the destination, but B, is they're the liaison between all of those restaurants and attractions, the shops, the retail shops, and so on, that we can kind of help pull it all together, so everybody knows that group is in town. Everybody is on board to welcome that group, and maybe offer discounts or, some other kind of something, group rates on. We have a ropes course adventure, like a adventure park that's next to the aquarium, and they very frequently will say, hey, tell your groups we're willing to offer such and such a discount. Just tell them to show their badge and we'll give them a discount, the group rate for if they want to come down while they're here and go through the ropes course. And so frequently we'll get that kind of a thing, that we're able to offer as added value to our clients.
Excellent.
And that's something that a destination management person can offer. And then the big thing that we do in order to get that business is we will do site tours, FAM tours, and so on. And it says FAM etiquette. So if you're not familiar with what what a FAM tour is basically we'll get a group, selected group of meeting planners and event planners and that kind of thing. We will bring them into the destination. We sort of fly them in, put them up for a couple of days. We take them on a very scripted kind of tour of all the highlights of the destination that are kind of tailored to the group that's coming in terms of the size of hotels, the size of venues that they need to look at, and so on. We build in a little fun. These pictures, we actually did a chalk of our new logo on the boardwalk and then had everybody go out, and we took a big group picture with them. We did this whole beach party, and we had cornhole and volleyball, beach volleyball. We rented bikes. So it's, it adds a lot of fun, value added. We'll take them on a tour of the convention center and so on. What happens though is there are meeting planners and or event planners who maybe they may not have a piece of business that really fits the destination, but they kind of think, oh, I wouldn't mind going to Virginia Beach for a couple of days and have somebody pick up the tab for that. So the FAM etiquette really is that the meeting planner or the clients really need to know, will my event fit in this destination?
Right.
And if not, the etiquette is really that you don't go on a free trip somewhere to some place you're never going to bring a piece of business, because it does create not such goodwill, because you can pick up on it pretty easily when we start asking the questions of, well, so how much exhibit hall space do you need? Oh, I need 300,000 square feet. Well, that's not ever going to fit in our destination, and so immediately it raises a red flag. So that really it's about matching the right meeting professionals and the right event professionals and the right sports event people to what what their event is and how it fits into our destination. And that's the truth for any destination. It's not just Virginia Beach, it's New York, it's it is Hawaii, California, any destination that has meeting and convention slant event sort of needs, it's about knowing what your event is and where it might fit, and that's doing that homework on the website and looking to see. That's reaching out to the Convention and Visitors Bureau and saying, hey, I've got an event, I think I'd like to bring it to your city, here's my parameters, and bridging that gap. But site visits can be really helpful for those planners who have been narrowed down, and they are a good fit for us, because sometimes it's not that everybody's so busy, they don't ever get to see a destination that maybe they don't have an event for right that second. And they can actually say, oh, you know what? I never realized that Virginia Beach or New York or into whatever city, had this to offer, and how cool is that? And yeah, let me look at what my next 3 years, 5 years. That's the other thing that is mind-boggling is our salespeople are working into 2020, 2021. They're getting RFPs for conventions that are not going to happen for 5 or 6 years. And it's hard to imagine, what is pricing going to look like, even what the destination is going to look like. So we have to, again, be the subject matter expert on what new projects are in the pipeline. For example, Virginia Beach is in the pipeline to have an arena built, an 18,000 seat arena across the street from the convention center. That's something that somebody looking at 2020 can offer a client and say, we're going to have this 18,000 seat arena that we'll have a stage, we'll have production, we'll be able to utilize that for your, general session event or whatever it might be, and they can kind of go back and forth with that. So it's incumbent upon the CVB folks to really know what's coming up the pipe. Are we going to have new hotel products? Or is there a new attraction being built? Is there a theater being built? Those kinds of things. Or a restaurant chain that might be coming into the market. Like we just got a Tupelo Honey here. Is there some other kind of big sort of name that might be coming to the destination that helps sell that destination to you, the clients?
So I have a question for you, Jane. There's two ways that you can become familiar with a destination. One would be if you, as a planner, calls the CVB and on your own, from your own expense, decide, I'm going to fly down. I want to have 2 days of visiting around and, stay at a hotel, what have you. Or the other way is if you submit RFPs or requests for proposals, then you might be added to a list where once a year you do this FAM tour or familiarization tour, and you invite maybe 20 planners down that are all looking for a similar experience, and then you do group presentations. Is that the case?
That is correct. That is correct. And we will, if a client, they would, like if a client calls and says, hey, I'd really like to do a site visit. I've got a couple of meetings I think will fit. We will sometimes, even on a one-off, pay for them to come and put them up in a hotel or help arrange that, because we certainly want to value their business and put the effort into a client that may actually be considering us that might not fall into that time frame. Like, we look at all of the events that we have going on in our destination to try and find a good time to create our familiarization tour. For instance, this year we're not actually doing a formal one because we have such a busy spring that there's really not a good time to fit that in with all the work that goes into it. And so we decided we're going to do lots of little mini ones with each of the groups of sales teams in sports marketing. And we'll look at it again in the fall and see if we want to do it in the fall or something along that line. But last year we did this one that you see with these pictures on the beach, where we had the Price is Right Roadshow was coming to our local theater. And so we piggybacked on that and said, we'll take everybody to that as an activity, and we'll sort of theme everything else around the Price is Right, and then bring these people in. And it was a blast because everybody was at the Price is Right. One of our hotel partners actually got called up on the stage. He didn't win anything, but it really created an experience. And we also do an educational component for all these meeting planners because they're very busy and they don't always get to have educational components like a webinar or going to conferences because they may fall right smack in the middle of their own conference. So we offer that as an added extra value to do have a speaker come in and talk about something that's a trend in the industry, or how to better balance your time, or those kinds of things. And we also build in corporate social responsibility options where we do a little give back, where they might be stuffing bags for a homeless shelter, with toothbrushes and, shampoo and things like that. Or they might go and collect books and deliver them to, the library, or, those kinds of things. We try to partner that with our groups to also show them that that's something else that a lot of CVBs and destination management organizations will offer a client, because it's very much something that a lot of meeting planners are asking for now. Is we want to do a give back component of our conference. How can you help us with that? So we also help broker that. So
talk to us too about other kinds of programs. You talked about first tier cities and second and third tier. And it seems like for a first tier, like a Boston or New York or Chicago, it might not be as easy to manage some of these other programs. But talk to us a little bit about how they can be supported.
Right. So when you're doing like some sort of incentive or spouse or guest programs with any kind of add-ons, again, in a first tier city, the likelihood is you're going to put it at a the destination management company as that's going to be part of the big package. Like, so if they have to do transportation, they'll also need to do a spouse program or what have you. And it's incumbent upon that DMC to come back and say, here's some proposals. And then the planner will pick which ones they want to add into their process. For a smaller destination or mid-tier destination, the CVB, like we would assist with that. We generally will point them in a direction and then also say, here is, like, we do beer and food tours. There's a company that does just that. So we would point them in that direction and say, here, contact these people. They can create a brewery tour. There's lots of microbreweries. They'll create a brewery tour for your spouses or your guests. They can, go on that. We can pick what day that's going to happen, and they'll negotiate. The meeting planner will negotiate directly with them. It's helpful for the CVB to know what's happening, because that helps with the overall coordination of what's going on with that event. But the same thing of, people want to take paddleboarding lessons. They want to do iFly. They want to go on a dolphin tour, kayaking, bird watching, whatever those things are. Again, it goes back to CVB being the expert on the destination, so they can help, sort of say, here's the options you have. We can maybe help with transportation. It depends a lot on the size of the group, how many add-ons they're going to do. The other piece of it is, for example, is like our conference that's happening in May is a big veterinarian conference. They have a lot of major sponsors. Those sponsors want to entertain these veterinarians for obvious reasons, Purina or whoever, and they will very often create their own events. They might ask us for help with that, those corporate planners from, say Purina. They might call me and say, hey, I need to do an event for 300 people. I can't, in the parameters of what the scope of our work, we can't do that, take that on as a separate thing, but we can at least say, here's a list of some places that are private dining, here's some offsite venues, so on. But those corporations would have to plan their own events. But we need to know about them, because when the attendees come and ask one of our welcome desk folks, hey, do you know where that Purina reception is? They need to know that answer. So it's a whole, like, lots of balls in the air and trying to keep them in the tube and not flying out around, so on. But there are times, like we will be doing a beach party for that same event that will be a sponsored event, but we're going to have a part in assisting with that because there's permitting involved. There's a bunch of other things that are involved with that. So we need to keep a closer, tighter control on that particular event than we might for some of the other smaller events. But there certainly are lots of, that's one of the things that a CVB and a DMC can do is, offer creative suggestions, ask the group what kinds of things they might be looking to do. They want team building. Do they want historical sightseeing? Do they, we have a Navy base that's, 30 minutes away. Do they want to tour the Navy base? Do they want to watch jets take off? Those kinds of things. Then once we have an idea, we can point them in the right direction of what, trying to match the meeting planner's vision for what they need, or the corporation's, idea for what they need to what's available in our market.
Nice. If you could give us, I have the slide up about corporate events and conferences. If you could give us, say, your top, 10 tips for someone working with, an unfamiliar destination, what would you say the process or the tips would be for them to do it successfully so that their conference comes off without a hitch?
I would say number one is do some research before you even contact anybody. Do some homework and look at various websites. You can even, and most meeting planners who've been around a while kind of know what destinations their events will fit. But every now and again, we do a lot of research on our end to try and mine those clients and find where they are that might not be thinking about us as a destination. But if you're the one who's in the driver's seat, is do the research. Look at how big is the convention center. Look at what other, how many hotels there are. How many rooms do you need? There are conventions that go to Chicago, which is mind-boggling to me, that need, 10,000 rooms. And that's like mind-boggling because, that's probably every room in our whole, more than every room in our whole destination.
Right.
That would leave nothing. And that's including all the little tiny, mom and pops and all that kind of stuff. But in Chicago, that is, a big major conference, and they do that all the time. So it's knowing your knowing what you need, and then sort of picking those destinations that will fit into that, doing that research. So that would be number one. I think number two is reaching out to those contacts the sales contacts at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, or when you're networking at a conference or a convention, professional convention, that, say, such as PCMA or ISIS Live or any of those kinds of conferences. When you're networking with your colleagues, say, hey, I've got this event. I need this many rooms. I need this much space. And a lot of those colleagues will be like, oh, you should think about such and such a place. So that's really important to utilize those resources and networking and start that ball rolling. And then it's being really honest about what your needs are and being upfront with them with that CVB and or BMC. Because nothing is more frustrating than finding out after you're halfway down the road that all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we need X, Y, and Z, and it's a month before the conference, and we're thinking, boy, if we'd known about that a year ago, it would have been so easy. Now it's really hard to try and find all those things and find availability and so on. So really understanding your needs and being able to allow the CVB to help with what they can help with and listening to what the CVB has to say. 10, that's a lot. 10 is a lot.
Yeah, so maybe not 10. So I
yeah.
like what you said, listening as well, because as a planner, you may go into it thinking, oh, this is perfect. I need this, this, this. But then through a collaborative discussion and uncovery process, you may realize this isn't going to work, or yes, this really will. So it's taking the advice too of the professionals within the city to say we can do this or we can't do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Because I mean, we would love in our dream world, Virginia Beach would love to have a headquarters hotel, because it would help us sell the convention center more effectively. The reality is we do a pretty good job even without a headquarters hotel, but there are some meetings that won't even consider a location without a headquarters hotel co-located with a convention center. That's something that if that is that important, then you need to eliminate those destinations that don't offer that if that is a showstopper.
Yeah.
Because that's a waste of the other group's time, because we manage it really well, and we also know that people are going to want to stay at the oceanfront anyway. It's 6.5 blocks from the convention center, so they're going to want to stay at the oceanfront. So we still offer shuttle transportation, and we all of those things. But the reality is that there are some groups that no matter what, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how great the service is, doesn't matter how great the weather is, the rates, any of that. And also knowing where the wiggle room is, that's really important too on both sides. Being really frank of, I can go no higher than this amount for a room night rate. I can, I need to have 30 meeting rooms, that will hold 100 people. Those kinds of things, because then it helps the CVB really figure out, will this work? Will this not work? How can we make it work? And being open-minded too. That's being open-minded always helps, and that's that whole two-way listening and communicating your needs, and then allowing the CVB. What was frustrating to a CVB many times, and it's the thing, it's like kind of one of the don't plan all the stuff and then 3 months before your event say, oh, I'd love the CVB to give us money or do a welcome desk or do anything when we've had nothing to do with it for the year and a half that you've been planning it beforehand. And not because that's being catty, it's more about that we view our relationships with our meeting planners and event planners as partners. And it's very hard for us to partner with them if they've kind of gone around what we can assist with, but then all of a sudden when they're kind of, oh, I need another $1,000 to do my event, well, maybe the CVB will give it to us. There's not that much incentive for us to say, well, sure, we'll do that. Whereas if in the front end, you're like, hey, here's my great event. I want to bring it to your city. Why don't we talk about what I'm bringing you guys, and you can tell me what you're willing to do for us. And, a lot of it is just logistics. Sometimes it is sponsorship. Sometimes it is, helping to reduce or waive the rental at the convention center. Sometimes it's about, helping to get more hotel rooms in a particular block. Those kinds of things that CVBs are really good at, because we work with those folks every single day and can really help kind of put that, onto our hotel partners and say, hey, these people are they're looking at 3 or 4 years worth of business. Let's figure out how we make this work and maybe sign multi-year contracts, those kinds of things, which helps the meeting planner actually produce their events.
I'm making a list, Jane, that once an event or conference is booked, what are the things that you're recommending? And I started by saying, let them know everything you need, put everything out on the table, act like a partner during the planning process. And so the other thing, would you say, doing site inspections and final walkthroughs. I remember once we were talking, you were saying that the planner was in town to actually drive on the bus to see how long it would take to go from each hotel to the destination or convention center.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so we really try to facilitate that as much as possible and work through. I have a site visit next week with a group that's coming in April. It's their final sort of site visit. They're going to meet with the mayor. They are going to have a tasting to finalize their menus, and we are facilitating that whole thing so that we will have a whole list of our final questions to ask them, and they will have a whole lot of things for us, and we work through it together so that when they actually arrive for their conference next month, we should have ironed out all of the things that maybe still are kind of hanging out in limbo, decisions that maybe we're waiting on or they're waiting on or that kind of thing. So that's really imperative too, is to ensure that that as a planner, that a planner would allow for that time to do those things and walk through and really see, especially if it's a brand new destination, you've never been there, or maybe you've never done shuttle transportation. So you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to have to do shuttles, because you might think of it as, I was on a shuttle in Miami once from the Fontainebleau to the convention center. I had no idea, I'd never been to Miami, didn't realize how far it was. And I thought if this was that was my only experience, then when I would come to Virginia Beach and say shuttle transportation, I might think, oh, I don't want to do this. But in the big picture of things, it's not the same. Our shuttle routes are maybe 20 minutes long from start to finish most of the time, unless we have to go farther afield to hotels at town center. But if it's at the oceanfront, somebody is never on a shuttle for more than 20 minutes, usually less. And our goal is to have nobody wait more than 10 minutes for a shuttle. Then part of that is, again, it's service level and making that attractive to, if you don't have a hotel right across the street, well, I can still go back to my hotel and check some emails, and I can still be back for my 3 o'clock, session that I have to be at the convention center. And it's about thinking like what the attendees would need and how to anticipate those needs. And a lot of CVBs, that's like really what they're offering, is how to help you have a really amazing, successful event.
Yeah. Oh, on that note, Jane, you had a couple of really great resources that you wanted to share.
Right. So some of you may have heard of, the IACVB, which has since been renamed DMAI, which is Destination Marketing Association. And DMAI is like that kind of, it's like the association for people who work for CVBs, and destination management organizations or destination management company. And they're actually meeting in New York, or they might be done now, but their conference was in New York just this week. The Convention Industry Council is kind of the big umbrella organization that a lot of these other organizations fall under as an umbrella, and there's amazing resources, including all of their sort of standards that they're working towards that they'd like the meeting industry to sort of adopt as standard practice, so that it's consistent across the country and across the world. I put USA Tourism on there because all of the tourist Convention and Visitors Bureau kind of organizations sort of fall under that umbrella of tourism. And again, that's a good resource to find out like what kinds of destinations you might be able to partner with to bring your event to. Obviously, the Event Service Professionals Association, which is similar to International Special Events Society. It is people who work in convention centers, people who work in convention services, people who are convention service managers at hotels. So again, they're the people who are that point of contact to help make things happen for a meeting planner. And then obviously the International Special Events Society, which is the umbrella organization for all things event related. And those are just some of the resources that you can reach out to. But I mean, those are big umbrella, help you, sort of navigate and drill down to the destinations you might be considering.
Nice.
professionals that you might want to help, have you help you with.
Any final comments, Jane?
I would just say that, again, it's just like anything in the event business is that it's stronger if you partner with whatever organization, whether it's your hotel people, your CVB, your event production people, whatever, that when you approach it as a partnership, that it takes everyone to make it a success, then it really does mean that you are more successful. There's a lot of stuff that kind of goes around about adversarial relationships, and that really doesn't help anybody. And so I think that's what really CVBs really are in essence, is they are service organizations, help and a resource for people to find out about a lot of different things about a particular destination, which includes event kind related things and meeting and convention sort of avenues.
Definitely. Well, I know sometimes it can be tricky as a planner when you have to negotiate and share budgets, how much you can afford, or what your expense line items can be. And negotiation is two-way. The city's giving, you're giving, is a give and take, and that's where it is truly has to be a collaborative experience.
Right.
To form a partnership. You might not go to that city every year. It may be every 5th year, but certainly your reputation in the industry as a professional, it's important, and you do that through the collaborative nature that you work with your colleagues.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Just to close, I want to thank you, Jane. I'm just going to look in our chat box. We don't have any questions in there. So if anyone wants to email us as well, we'd be happy to help. We're here to be a resource to you. So thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Have a great weekend.